Hello everybody, back in the shop again. Still have our SM465 parts on the bench. It's been busy past couple days, but we had a little bit of snow, so it's kind of quiet today. I'm going to try and get back on this. And first thing I'd like to do is thank a viewer who sent me some lights. I know sometimes my videos are a little dark, and a while ago I got some lights from Bill Longyard, and they've been working fantastic. And I don't know this particular viewer's name, but he was talking about some dark spots I had, and I know I got some dark spots, but I just didn't have any lights. These are magnetic, and they swivel all over the place, and very much appreciate them. So we're going to try and get things a little clearer. Now what I'm doing right now is putting the transmission to the transfer case and making any adjustments I need to do. And I want to just say right up front here, it's much easier to use a single shifter transfer case. I don't like the single shifters. I mean, that's just me. I really like the two stick. You could use a Dana 20, which would be even easier. This is a transfer case I built already. This is a big hole case. That's that hole right there. This is a big hole case, Dana 18. I have, I think you can see it way in there, the intermediate gear upgrade I put in there. That's a kit from Advanced Adapters, and I bore the intermediate gear, put some Timken bearings in there. It's a very nice upgrade. I do it for a lot of customers. They send me their gears, I bore them, put the cups in, send them back. It's a very good upgrade. And then what I did was, because I like the twin stick, I have the twin stick set up. It's very difficult to get the twin stick setup adapted to a 465, but I do it anyway. You know, that's how much I like the twin stick. The single stick doesn't shift as nice. I'm not super happy with that, but it does take some grinding. There's a lot of fitting to it. If you just want an easy installation, don't use a twin stick. That's what I'm saying to you. But I'm going to go ahead and fit it, and we're going to talk about a few things. I've been getting a bunch of questions on the rebuild, so we're going to go over some critical information. A little bit later, we're going to talk about these bushings. There's a lot of miscommunication on those, and a lot of stuff that you need to know before you do your rebuild. So we're going to talk about those, and I got a lot of questions about the cluster gear. And like I said, this is the later one. It's not the rubber lined one, and a bunch of people had some questions about that. I'm going to go over and show you the early style. It's in a transmission. I'm going to go show you the early style so you can see the difference. Remember, this is all metal construction, and then it has that spacer in there that we talked about on the last video. Okay, I'm going to run over to another transmission and get a light in there and try and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, here we are at this is a very first year, 1968, and look at these lights are coming in handy already. You see this black area in there, that's the rubber. Then there is like a cage to hold the rubber, and then there's the gear. I hope you can see that okay. I didn't get it out of the transmission, but if you see that, you see there's no collar there. You can see the actual splines of the counter shaft, and it doesn't have that spacer on there. That's the one I'm talking about. That's the early style. You'd be in a lot better shape if you press that off and put a later style on there, because that rubber just wears out. And there's a lot of goo in this case here. there's a magnet on the bottom of all these cases. I think you can see all the junk there. That's sludge and parts of the PTO, and I believe parts of some gears, and I found some shift synchronizer dogs in there. So this one's going to need some work, but like I say, when I do this one, that gear will be replaced, and I'll probably do this one next, and I can show you that. But if you have that rubber on your gear, get a later gear. They're available new. Get a later gear, press it on, put the collar in there, and you'll be in much better shape. Okay guys, next thing I want to go over with you are these bushings. This causes a lot of guys a lot of grief with their transmission rebuilds. Okay, first of all, well, here's your first, there's your second, and here's your third gear. First gear, second gear, third gear. When you go to put them on, they break very easy. They can shatter. Safety glasses when you're on your press. Heat these guys up a couple hundred degrees, 200, 250. Don't go too much above that. 250, 275 is fine. Put those in an oven, put them on a stove, put them somewhere. Get those hot. Freeze your shaft there, and then press them on one at a time. In the sequence, there's a sequence to that. But here's the thing. This is a second generation. This has come out of a, like I say, a 79 or 80 truck. Okay? The length of this one is 1 inch 860. What you're going to get in all your kits, doesn't matter who you get it from, they're going to be 1 inch 840. So, in order to keep you out of trouble, whoever you get your kit from, they're going to give you the correct first gear thrust washer. And like I say, you're not going to be able to reuse that, and you're not going to be able to get the 1 inch 860 length on that bushing. So make sure when you get them, you measure them, and you use the right bushing and the right thrust washer. With the new bushing, you're going to use a 0.197 thickness washer. Okay, the earlier bushing had a the second generation. This guy right here, the 1 inch 860, had a 187 thrust washer, and that little bit can really screw you up. So make sure you measure these carefully. And like I say, second generation. All the kits are going to come with first generation bushings. That's what I'm saying. So just be conscious of what you're doing here, because if you put the 1 inch 860 with the new thrust washer, you're going to bind everything up. You're going to have immediate, and I do mean immediate, trouble with your transmission, and it's not going to be good. So if you have any questions about that, just put in a comment below. I think I tried to explain it the best I can. But like I say, be careful with those. A lot of guys break them. They do shatter. They're very tender. Heat them up. Press them on carefully. And I'll show you the right press tools to use and things like that. I just want to go over some of the basics before we get too far into the rebuild, and I don't have time to explain it. So, very careful. Identify which bushings you have, and put the right washer. Okay, we're going to move on to getting the 465 to fit with a twin stick. So, probably not the smartest thing. Like I say, if you want no trouble, use a single shifter. What we got to do is start taking a little bit of material out of the case and a little bit off of our twin stick holder. I had to take a little bit off where that intermediate gear shaft came through of the aluminum housing, just to get it to swing. And that's just how that is. If you had the standard one in there, it would be flush with the case and it wouldn't be in any trouble with it. But when you upgrade to the Timken bearings, that's going to be in the way, and you're going to have to go after that and grind a little bit of the aluminum out. Now we're just going to carefully start nibbling material away until we can get this to fit and get covers on and everything. And don't forget, we're going to have an overdrive on this, or we're going to have another lever coming through, so it's going to get tight in here. But if you really have a desire to put a twin stick in there, I'll show you how we do it next. Okay guys, still chipping away at getting this fit together. I want to show you what your clocking options are when you get one of these. Okay, there is number one. Okay, that's what your transfer case, straight and even with the top of your transmission. You can clock it a couple different ways. You see we cut that out already because we're clocking it the third way. You can put it tilted down a little bit like that, number two. And what we're doing, this is the only way to get it on a 465 when you want to use a twin stick. You got to clock it the third way, so you see what an angle that's on compared to the flatness of the transfer case. It's the only way you're actually going to get it. So I had to, for the nut on the intermediate shaft right here, you can see I had to take the first two holes out, and that's going to fit in there, and we need that space there. So the first thing I do is I get my plate fit, and we're in the third clocking location, which is going to look like that. So I get that fit. I know I got clearance around this nut. Like I say, if you didn't do the upgrade, no problem. Just stick it right on in the third hole location. I had to notch it. Next thing, I'm going to attach this to the transmission again, and we're going to try it, and then if we got to do more trimming on the transmission or on the transfer case, we could do that. But we know our plate actually fits, so that's the first step. And if you look at this thing, you see they give you a cutout right here. Okay, so when you're rebuilding your transmission, I'll try and take you over there. When you're rebuilding your transmission, oops, there's your reverse idler, or your reverse idler shaft, and it's got a flat here. Okay, make sure that's in the upright position. When you bang that in and you seat it, make sure that is in the upright position. Your cutout is low, because when you put your plate on, okay, that's the cutout they give you. Well, can't do everything with holding the phone here. Okay, that drops right down. If that is tilted to the side or it's upside down, it's not going to work. It's not going to fit on that, and it could be a nuisance if your transmission's all assembled. That could be a nuisance to turn that. So make sure that that is in that position. And get your side view. Cutout is on the bottom, and the round part's on the top. And like I say, that's the only way that's going to fit on there. So just a little something when you're assembling that. I'm trying to give you guys all the tips so you can think ahead and plan ahead, so you don't make any mistakes when you're either rebuilding the 465 or whether you're going to adapt it to a transfer case. I'm trying to give you some tips so you can plan, you can make some notes, you can plan ahead and not make mistakes. A lot of guys just put that in, you know, any which way, and then go to adapt it, and it bites them. So just trying to give you guys some tips. So when we get this attached here, we'll flip that back on the transfer case, and I'll show you where we're at. Okay, after a lot of trial fits, we finally have our twin stick mounted with the case, and everything is clear. We have clearance everywhere. Everything is going to work out okay. We're clocked down into the third position. And like I say, that's where you're going to need to be. Okay, this is where we had to do a little bit of grinding on the transfer case. Right down in this area here. I think you can see that. So it's on there. Like I say, it does take quite a bit of planning and grinding, but it will go on there. And like I say, much easier with a single shift. Okay, now I don't know what I do with the bolts, but oh, here's one. Here it is here. At this bottom hole, let me see if you can see this. Okay, the bottom mount right here is going to take this special bolt. It comes in your kit. It's a 5/16, not a 3/8 like the rest of them. So just be aware of that. It takes a special bolt. Look for that bolt in your kit, and that will thread right in. Inside this area, okay, way in there, there is a hole way inside there. And what you're going to do, you're going to take this thread, this stud here, you're going to thread that into your transfer case, and then you're just going to put a nut on this side. A lot of guys get screwed up on this stuff, and they call me and they're like, well, I don't know what to do here, I don't know what to do here. Just trying to show you guys what's what when you get your kit. Rest of the bolts, just bolt right in from the back, no big deal. Now, like I said, this is an advanced adapter setup. The Novak one's a little bit different. You could use a regular GM mount. Either way is fine. The GM mount is very good. With the advanced adapters, they give you these urethane mounts. You see these threaded holes. Okay. You got to have a clearance issue here with your pan. So you're going to want to trim your urethane here. And that bolts right there. Through your mount will be under here, obviously. Your steel mount. And then this one, the case hangs over a little bit. You could either grind the case. I like to leave the case where it is. And I take a little bit out of the urethane. Put that up against there. These are very good mounts. I like them. But either way, whatever you do, if you have the if you have the Novak kit, you can put a regular GM mount. If you have this one, you use the two mounts like that, or you can make your own mounts. You can do anything you like. But here's two threaded holes, or you could take off with anything you like. I use the ones that come with it. I think they work great. We have plenty of clearance for our drive shaft. Right there, you can see we've got a whole lot of clearance between that and the case. So that's good. And I'm going to get it jigged up on the bench, and I'm going to show you what it's like in operating position, so you could see and make sure that's something you want to do. But let me get it jigged up on the bench, and we'll take a look at it. Okay guys, we got the transmission level on the bench. Okay, and that's what this is going to look like. And that's how it's going to sit when it's in the frame. The transmission is going to be level. And you see we have our transfer case. See, we've got that guy way tilted down to the third position. Normally, the top of this transfer case would almost be level, but we really got it rotated down. It's the only way you're going to fit the twin stick in there. Okay, so that's hanging down, and I think you can see your sticks are kind of leaning toward the passenger side. So what I do is right here, and this will be way later on, but right here I take and I bend that out that way, and then right here I take and I bend this one the same distance, just to get the sticks sticking straight up. But I think you can see that. Let me see if I can get around the back side and show you how much tilted that is. Okay, there's the tilt. I think you can see that. Okay, and like I say, third position. That's the only way you're going to do it. If you use a single stick, you can get that transfer case rotated up. But like I say, I like the twin stick, so that's how I like to put them in there. And it can be done. They don't recommend it, but it can be done. You just got to fiddle with it a little bit. And there it is. Okay guys, after all that test fitting and everything and the transfer case fitting right, we're going to actually start to rebuild this guy. The case is clean. I gave that a hot water pressure wash. It's nice and clean, ready to go. And the first thing we're going to do is start prepping parts to go in there. Now, you know our cluster gear, because we're not changing anything, that cluster gear is ready to go in. I just got to clean it a little bit. Here is our input shaft. Okay, we're going to get the slinger and we're going to get the bearing on there. Okay, now make sure you put your slinger on there correctly. You got like a dish here. And that side's just molded. Okay, that's going to go down like that. And that fits over a diameter on there. You just got to tap it down just a little bit. Get that seated on there. And then we're going to go over to the press. We're going to press this on. And you want the bearing all the way down, but you don't want it hitting your slinger. Okay? So, we'll get this just lightly tapped on there with a punch. We'll get it seated, and I'll meet you over at the press, and we'll start pressing the bearing on. Okay guys, we got our new lights at work over at the press. And we've got that same tool you saw me use last time, or one of those times. Kent Moore, a couple people asked me for the numbers on these. This is made by Kent Moore. This is a J-22872. You could see it in other videos. Okay, we're going to take our input shaft with the bearing on it and just lay it right in there. Now we know that we've got good support around the bearing. We're not going to damage anything. We're going to put a push block on there. And then I've just got a little push bar here. Let's get this centered up. And we're just going to push that guy in there. Okay, now we got a hard stop there. Don't overexert it or anything or make a mistake. Just go until it stops. We felt our definite stop there. And the main thing you want to look for is a free spinning bearing without hitting this slinger here. So that's going to keep the oil from just flying right through there. It's just going to slow the oil down. So we'll go over, we'll put the outer snap ring and the inner snap ring on, and that'll be done. Okay guys, got our bearing on safely. Take this outer ring. You can just get these on by hand. wiggle that in there. We're going to check and make sure our snap ring is going to fit all around. That way we know our bearing is in the exact right place. Now, if you're doing any kind of transmission work, get yourself a decent set of snap ring pliers. The cheap ones are just going to drive you crazy. This is a what is this? This is a snap-on set here. They're just a lot easier to work with. And sometimes, if you've done any kind of transmission work, you know snap rings are a bear. They can get away from you time and time again. But it's much easier if you got a decent set of snap ring pliers, and they'll go right on like that. I think you can see those guys, but a lot of tool companies make good ones. I got probably 8 different pairs of them, but they do make life a lot easier. Okay, the next thing we're going to have to do is get our needle bearings placed in there. I already have the snap ring in there. There's going to be needle bearings that go in there. We'll put those in a little bit later, right before we're ready to put it together. So now we have our cluster gear ready. We have our input gear ready. And we can start assembling. This one's getting kind of long. I'm going to end it here. I have the main shaft in the freezer, and we're going to take these guys here, and we're going to put them in the stove tomorrow, and we're going to completely assemble the main shaft. We've got our new third gear. The rest of the gears look good. They're sitting over there, just waiting for us. So we'll push the bushings on, we'll push the synchros on. I'll show you the sequence for putting the main shaft together. And I know we talked about these already. I'll take actual measurements with you tomorrow. I'll show you the washers. I'll show you how everything goes together. And we should have this guy mostly assembled tomorrow. And then we'll continue on with getting the transfer case on it for good. So we're going to end it here. I appreciate you guys watching as always. And if you have any questions or anything, just send a message in the link below there, and I'll get back with you. I know a lot of guys are looking for part numbers for the tools. I'm going to try and get those out there as I use them. I didn't realize so many people would be interested in them, but I have some coming up tomorrow, and I will, or the next video, and I'll go over the numbers on some of the more critical things that I think you can use. So, thanks for watching. I will catch you on the next video, and we'll continue on with this, and we'll see you then.